There's so many different ways to pimp up a mac and cheese, and this way really takes the cake. I love it. It's a combination of smoked ham hock and cabbage. So for the ham hock first, this is such a great cut of meat. It's smoked, it's obviously the hock of the pork, and it is smoky. So I'll place the ham hock directly into some water. You'll need a large pot for this, and into that I'll add 1/4 of a Savoy cabbage. Now I'm going to leave it in its shape. It's just going to make it easier to scoop out later on after it's cooked. So this is going to become really, really soft and give our mac and cheese so much flavour. So we'll just nestle that into our pot. And then 1 onion. The onion I like to stud with some cloves. So we'll just pop that in there. And the reason I do this is because I don't want big chunks of cloves throughout my broth, because I'm going to be using this broth later on to make the rest of my bechamel sauce. This onion goes straight in. It's getting full now. And caraway seeds, cabbage, pork, and these beautiful caraway seeds. It is such a lovely touch. So a little sprinkle of that in there. The heat's on this and it's going to come up to the boil. Once it's boiling, I'll turn it down and we'll cook this for 1.5 to 2 hours, or until the meat starts to fall off that ham hock. Now for the bechamel. So classic bechamel, we're going to add even amounts of butter and just allow that butter to melt. And then we're going to add our plain flour. And you do really want to cook off your flour because you don't want that raw flavour. So using a spatula, just give that a really good mix. So we will be adding some milk. You want about 300 ml. So little by little, we're going to add the milk. You'll see it start to thicken. We'll add a little more. And I like to do this gradually so we don't get any lumps. After all the milk has been incorporated, you want to bring this to the boil, constantly stir it so there's no lumps. And once it's thick, we'll turn it off and we'll just wait for our gorgeous ham hock to finish cooking. Okay, you can see that this is cooked down significantly. So just with a slotted spoon, we're going to fish everything out. So we'll start with this onion. I'm going to add that to the mac and cheese too because it's so sweet and yummy. The cabbage, see how it's held its shape and it's cooked down. Drain that excess liquid and we're going to roughly chop this for our mac and cheese too. And the hero here, our big ham hock. Look at that, it's so soft it's falling apart. We'll also place that into our dish. So just let that cool for a moment while we finish off our white sauce. So this sauce is naturally cooled down and it's firmed up, so we're going to need to put the heat back on. And as I mentioned earlier, we want to use this beautiful stock just to finish off the white sauce. Now, it is going to be salty, so that's why I haven't seasoned the sauce yet. And we're also going to be adding some cheese, so don't add any salt yet. We're just going to incorporate that gorgeous ham hock stock, just mix that in. And you can add different types of cheese, cheddar, you could add some mozzarella, you can add a mixture. So as this starts to warm up and incorporate together, we can add our cheese, just reserving some for the top. And it's mac and cheese, it needs lots of cheese, so a giant handful of that. I'll also add some Parmesan, a little sprinkle, some nutmeg, a good grating of nutmeg. And finally, for some piquancy, some mustard. Now I'm using some seeded mustard, but you could use some Dijon mustard. And now we just want to give that a really good mix to incorporate and allow that cheese to melt. Okay, that sauce is done. We're going to turn the heat off. I'm going to wait for this to cool down slightly and then carefully remove all of the fat and the bones. And we just want to shred the meat and chop up the cabbage. And don't forget, we've got to cook our macaroni. Macaroni, please ensure that you cook it al dente. I don't want it to be overcooked because we do need to put it into the oven after that. The macaroni is cooked, I've strained it, it's al dente, and now I'm going to return it to the pot. Just separate that a little bit with a spoon. So we're going to add all of this sauce. Look at that, just divine. I want this to be extra saucy. Fold that in. I prefer there to be more sauce than less sauce. No one likes a dry mac and cheese. And then we can add the shredded ham hock, the cabbage and the onion, and we're going to add the whole lot to this. And again, we're just going to fold this in. This is rich, this is decadent, and it's going to feed an army. As you can see, there's so much of it here. And the cheese that we reserved, a little more of that too. I'm going to place this now into a baking dish. So we'll just pour that in. And this is good enough to eat as is, but I kind of like the texture of a crispy top. For the topping, some fresh breadcrumbs. We'll sprinkle that over. And this is where we're going to make it extra crispy, but we want it to go golden too, so some more cheese. And just because I have it on standby, I do like some Parmesan cheese. Now I've placed the grill on so it's quite hot. This is going to cook for a further 10 minutes or until it's bubbly and golden brown on the top. Now that's how you make a mac and cheese. It smells so good. And do let it rest for about 10 to 15 minutes at least, because it's going to be piping hot and you do need it to settle. And is it still saucy? It is indeed. Onto a plate. I'm gonna have a taste. It is sensational. It's everything you can imagine in a mac and cheese, but it's more with that cabbage and that smoked ham hock. Can't resist. I'm gonna have to have another taste.